Hey everybody, this is Chad from Zombie Fight Shark, and if you've been following along in the other tutorials, today we're going to touch on some melodic instruments. Previously we talked about percussion instruments, creating a drum set, sort of what CV is in a very basic sense. So now we're going to get into how do you use it to build some automatic instruments. And the audio that you hear in the background was all done with CV routing. There is no sequencing of any kind going on, it's just through CV, and we're going to explore some of the instruments that you hear. So before we get into it, I just want to say you can download all these things for free at zombiefightshark.net, and I encourage you to and learn how to use CV because it's a blast. Now let's get into some of this crazy stuff. So here we have 4 instruments. Each one is called auto bass, and each one is slightly more complex than the previous one. Let's get into how the first one works. So this is auto bass 1, and when you launch it from the refill, it's not going to be routed. So we're going to route it together right now. Not very complicated here at all, and still uses that same on-off basic CV principle. So we're routing from mod A to the gate, and you get 1 note bass. Just plays that 1 note, doesn't do anything special, just 1 note. But from that, you can do a bunch of other stuff. That's just the beginning. So let's unplug it. So if we want to create melodic content, then we reconnect the gate, and then we connect mod B to the pitch, not the CV. And the reason for that is if you connect it to the CV, you end up sweeping like 12 octaves back and forth. And I see I've got this set to pitch modulation 12, input 12. And by doing that, it keeps it from sweeping all the octaves, just keeps it just to 1. So now let's move to the next auto bass, which is a bit more complicated, a little bit more going on. So the first thing that's pretty obvious, it's a combinator, not just a maelstrom. We've got drive, note speed, guitar, and shift knobs, and auto bass, auto voice, auto melody, and filter envelope buttons. So what do all these mean? Let's check it out. So when you show devices, you see it's still only 2 maelstroms. Since maelstrom has 2 oscillators, 2 modulators, then you've got 4 instruments here, and then you have 4 modulating LFOs to play with all your CV stuff. So you can do a ton with just 2 devices. And when you show the programmer, that's where all the really cool stuff is happening. And I've basically maxed these out. I don't have room for any other things to be programmed, and I quickly find this happens to me a lot whenever I'm playing with Maelstrom. Also happens with Thor if you're a big Thor fan, but Thor has internal routing, where Maelstrom you're stuck with, you create a combinator and all you can do is use what's there, just that handful of device routing. So I frequently run out even when I know I have other things I want to program. So I've talked about it enough, let's listen to it and see some of this programming in action. So that was auto bass 2. So let's move on to auto bass 3. It's not that different from 2. We've just added a percussion element on it. So we'll just do a quick demo and then we'll move to 4, which is a bit more complicated. Alright, so had a few knob twiddling shenanigans there. So you can see we've almost got a full band, or at least a pretty full sound from just 3 moustrums, and not even really any creative routing. So let's go to Autobase 4, where it gets a bit more interesting and some other things are going on. And we're going to go straight to the demo first, so take a listen. Okay, so that was Autobase 4, which now it's pretty fully formed. A lot going on there, and I'm not going to break down every individual thing. You can download the refill for free and take a look at it yourself. We'll just take a quick glance at a couple of things that are different. And at the back of the rack here, you can see we have a delay unit, which we didn't have previously. We have a CV splitter. It's the first time we've used that. Everything's running to the CV ends on the combinator, so you can route all those using the programmer. Some of the programming has been altered on this one, and the delay unit even has CV running to it, as you can see there. And rather than continuing to go over every little nook and cranny of this, I'm just going to say, go to the website, download it, play with it. There's a lot of stuff happening. In the next tutorial, we're going to go over Truth by the Chronologists, and it's pretty difficult to understand, or at least it was for me initially. So that'll be a little bit longer tutorial like this one was, so we can go over that in depth, and hopefully by the end of it you understand how to use it and what it can actually do for you in Reason. Thanks for listening.